Hello, welcome to the video lecture series presented by St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. My name is Ravinder. I am an assistant professor with ETC department. And in this video lecture series, we are discussing the subject of object technologies and programming in Java, that is OTMP in Java. And today we are going to start a new and very interesting topic called multi-threading. Okay, so by multi-threading, let's head back to the notes itself. I would make absolutely clear what I'm trying to say. Okay, so by multi-threading, you must have seen that your systems nowadays are multitasking. Okay, so multitasking is just a synonym for multi-threading. Uh, there are two types of multitasking that is being performed by your system. The first is the process-based. First is the process-based multitasking. Okay, and next is your program based multitasking. Okay, now this what are these two types of multitasking? You might have seen that nowadays your systems are multi-core. Your systems include the multi-core processors as heart, or not heart but brain of your systems. So in day-to-day life you must have seen that you are playing a video on your, let's say, some VLC player, and side by side your torrent is downloading some movie, and alongside you have also opened up a text editor for doing something, or a Microsoft Word file, as I am doing right now. So there are more than one process that are being executed at a single time. Okay, so these processes are being dispatched by the system scheduler, and in this case, you can say that the smallest unit of dispatchable code is your application. For say, in at this particular time while I am talking to you, I have almost four processes run at the same time. The first one is the Microsoft Word that I have been opened up in front of you, that you can see in my screen. The second one is the IDE that I have already opened up. There you go. The third one is the your notes that I have provided you. So this is a PDF editor application. The fourth one is the recording software that I am using, the OBS Studio, for recording this particular lecture. Okay, coming back. So the scheduler has dispatched all the four processes. The dispatcher has scheduled all these four processes to run simultaneously, and as my system is capable of running more than one process at the same time, so I don't feel the lag behind or any kind of let's say slowing down of my the execution at any point of time. But for single core system, or the single CPU systems, like 15 years ago, when we have processors which execute single uh, dispatched code at one time. Even at that time, the multitasking is viable, because see, your system speed, that is your CPU speed, and the speed of your peripheral devices, that is your mouse, keyboard, or other kind of touchpad devices, are too slow. So there is much idle time. Let me say that again. There you have much idle time for the CPU while executing these processes, while interacting with these peripheral devices like mouse, keyboard, and other that. Now you can use that, or your system smartly use that idle time to process the other applications that are running simultaneously. So while doing something like, if I am trying to write a letter in my Microsoft Office Word, so the time taken by me, the human time to input the buttons, or to press the button on my keyboard, and after that the input that is being sent from the keyboard to my application is quite high as compared to the execution time that has been taken by the your CPU. So that idle time between the input and while the data reaching to the actual application has been smartly used by the CPUs to execute the other applications. So this complete not process, but I'll say this complete management of idle time of the CPU is called as the process-based multitasking. Obviously, nowadays we have multi-core processors available with us, so more than one processes can be executed, or more than one applications can run at the same time without any let's say without any thing to worry about the idle time of the CPU or not, because we have different cores that are running different applications at the same time. So this kind of multitasking is called process-based multitasking. Okay. The one thing that you should keep in mind, if you didn't get interested what I have said in the last few seconds, is that the smallest unit of code that has been dispatched by the scheduler in process-based multitasking is your smallest process, or your process actually, or you can say your application. So if there is a process or application based multitasking, the smallest unit of code that has been dispatched by the scheduler is your application itself. While in program based multitasking, imagine that your single application is doing more than one task. Okay, that your single application is doing more than one task at the same time. For example, let's say again your video player called VLC. You must have seen that video player VLC is nowadays been capable of video processing also. So you can imagine that you are playing a video, you are watching a movie, and side by side maybe you are processing, you're joining two short videos in the background. So your application called VLC media player is actually performing the multitasking. But that is only a single application that is performing these multiple tasks at the same time. So that kind of multitasking is called program-based multitasking, and this type of multitasking is we are interested in. Okay, because this process-based multitasking is completely dependent upon the your system configuration, whether you have multi-core CPU with you or not, or what is the speed, or what kind of let's say traffic handling capabilities of your system. But this program based multitasking is what you can actually hard code in your application, and your system will manage the idle time efficiently, and depending on the capabilities of the single core of your CPU, these multi-threads can be executed uh, as fast as your system is capable of handling a single application. Okay, so what I'm saying is, let's say one more example. Suppose your word processor is actually you're using your word processor or your text editor, and in that particular text editor you're writing your code, and side by side it is also uh, giving you warnings about your syntax, or some. You see, nowadays we have smart text editors which not only enable you to write the syntax of your code, but also sometimes they tell you if you're writing the correct syntax or not. So they are running two applications side by side. They are actually running two threads. Let me write that word here, not the process. They are actually executing two threads at the same time. The first thread for your text editor will be the window, the graphical user interface where you are typing your code, and second thread will be the thread which is actually evaluating your code and telling you, giving you feedback that whether that particular uh, line that you have written as your code is syntax as per the syntax of the language in your writing is correct or not. Okay, so let me open up a syntax. Okay, suppose this is my text editor. As you can see, it has been colored coded. So now at this point of time it is executing multiple threading, because for first thread it allows me to write the code here as simple text, and secondly by color coding it is identifying which one are the keywords and which one are not the keywords. So it is running multiple thread. First thread is enabling me to write, yeah, you can see here, first thread is enabling me to write uh, let's say text or the code, and second one is it is giving me feedback also, like in this case it is giving me feedback that which on which line you are, okay, and how this particular app is connected to other modules in my project. And with this color coding it is actually evaluating my syntax whether it is correct or not. Okay, so it is doing actually multiple tasks. So I'll end this. So this is actually called this the execution of multiple threads by a single application is actually called multi-threading. Okay, and that is the topic of discussion for this and the coming lecture. And I will show you how you can execute more than one thread in your single application. We'll try to implement a very basic application in which we will invoke more than one thread at the same time, and we will in real time see how those multi-threads behave. Okay, now let's get back to the notes. Now, okay, as these notes are already been provided to you, if not, it doesn't matter. I will try to talk to you everything that has been written in these notes. So be vigilant. Now, the question is how we can implement more than one thread in your single application. Now, by application, I mean that your code, your program. Actually, okay. Now, first thing first, let us go through some very basic stuff. Uh, the very first thing that you should understand that every application already have a single main thread. Every application has a already single main thread, and it is being called as main thread. As you can see in your codes, you have a while writing your Java code, you would see that you have a main method there, and if that main method is not there, the compiler will not be able to execute your code, or not be able to compile your code, or try to convert your code, because it is actually looking for that main thread. Main thread is the base of all the threads if there are multiple threads in your code. Like if you see a tree in your real life, the roots of the trees are the pillars, or are the main, let's say, part of the tree which holds all the other parts of the trees. Okay, so without roots your whole tree will fall. So this analogy you can relate to in this particular scenario. The main thread, the originally there will be a main thread that is being attached to your application, and these main threads are automatically, let's say, initiated and automatically terminated. So you don't have to worry about that main thread. Ever since before we have discussed, we have gone through 3 units of this subject, and ever since we are trying to execute every other application that we have written in Java, we are not concerned with threading until now, as you can remember. But back in the scene, you can imagine that there is one thread called main thread, which is which will always be generated by your code, and that main thread will lead to all the other threads if there are one in your system, or not system but in your application. Okay, so main thread will be the first thread, or the mother thread of all the other threads in your application. And one more thing, main thread will be the first thread which will start executing, and main thread will be the last thread that must be terminated. So any other thread which is being simultaneously run by your application must end before your main thread. So the chronology will be, when you start your application, the main thread will initiate, and inside that thread, if maybe you have different other threads which will start running simultaneously, they will perform the task that has been hard coded by you in those particular threads. all those threads will terminate, and in the end the main thread will terminate. Okay, so that is like the main method that you have written every time to run the Java application. Everything will start from the main method and everything will end in the main method. So that main, you can associate that main method with your main thread actually. Now, how to write a thread class or how to initiate a new thread inside your main thread. So for pretty basic stuff, you can write a thread class or you can write a new thread by two methods. First is there is a super class called thread. As you can see here, there is a super class called thread. Either you can extend this super class thread or you can implement an interface called runnable interface. You can implement an interface called runnable interface. Okay. Now, how to create that particular thread, I will not tell you with the help of these notes because that would be confusing. So I will try to implement that particular thread firsthand, and in between writing the code, I will regularly tell you what I am doing and what those particular words in the syntax mean. Okay. So let's head back to the IDE. So now here you can see that I have already created a class in the package, this my name package. Okay. So this class is actually called new thread. So I want a, in a, conjunction or in concurrency with my main thread, I want the thread which I will define in this particular class to run side by side. So my application will run two threads. First is automatic, that is the main thread, and next thread is the thread which I will define in this particular class. Okay. So there are two methods to implement or to write a new thread class. The first is you can extend the sorry, the thread class, okay, or you can implement the interface called runnable. Okay, I personally prefer this particular method, that is implementing an interface called runnable. So keep that thing in mind. You have two particular ways to create a new thread, to create a new thread class. Okay, the first is by implementing a superclass called thread itself with capital T, and also you can implement an interface called runnable. Okay, okay, both of these interface and this class called thread are actually defined in the package called java.lang, and that is already included in your JDK package, so you don't have to import that here. That is already been imported by your let's say automatically imported, it is by default. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. So let's begin. Now to start a new thread, we will try to create a new object of the class thread. What I'm saying is thread, and I will name it new thread nth. Okay, so thread is a superclass whose object I have instantiated right here. Okay, nothing new. So nth is kind of a variable which is of type thread, nothing new here. We have already seen. Now let's write the constructor for this particular class. So constructor will be new thread, and I will pass one string here as an argument. Let's see, name, and okay, so as you can see, I have already instantiated what is the show? Complete the okay, nothing new, we'll see. Okay, now as you can see, I have instantiated a variable of type nth, of type sort of name nth of and of type thread, I will try to make an object out of it. Okay, so I will write nth, and you can remember how we have done that by using the keyword new. So new thread, and I will pass object this and name. Okay. So what I have done here is, this is the method to create a new thread. First we will instantiate an object of class thread. Now I will actually create that object, and as you can know, while creating the object, it depends on the constructor if you can pass some arguments or not. So what I am trying to say here is, the constructor of class thread actually accepts two arguments. The first one is the object this and the name. So the new thread will automatically have name associated with it, which you have passed here. Okay, so your new thread will, if we have actually a method which can display the name of the new thread, and that name will actually be assigned to this particular thread here. Okay. Okay, let's begin. And now we will start nth.htl start. Okay, so what I have done here is, I have instantiated a new object of type thread. I have created the new object, and I have passed to this particular object some arguments. The first argument, let's say the first argument is the name of the object, name of the thread, which is associated with this new thread that I am going to create in this particular class. And second is object of this class itself. Now this keyword means I am actually passing the object of this class to this particular object. As you have already familiar with that, we can pass objects as arguments to other objects. Okay, so that is quite legal. Now this object nth of class thread has a method called start, and whenever you are going to encounter this particular method called start, the new thread will start executing. New thread will be implemented then and there. Okay, so it's like a start button. After going inside the main thread, which we'll see in a few moments ago, or that is actually automatically implemented, you are going to let's say you want to start your new thread inside that main thread we have discussed earlier. So that new thread will only start only after you have implemented the method called start. Okay, and all these things will be done automatically because we have created this particular new thread inside the constructor of this class. And if in the main class, which we will write, when we create the object of this class new thread, the new thread will automatically start. Okay, so you don't have to do anything. Now there is one more method, which is the method, the abstract, which is the method which is being defined in this particular interface runnable, which we must implement here. That is called public void run, and this is the only method which has been defined inside this runnable interface. So as you know, if you implement a particular interface, you must have to implement all of its methods. So this particular interface runnable has only one method defined inside, only signature of that is defined inside the runnable, called run, and inside that run method is the actual function your thread is going to do. So if your new thread is going to do something or going to perform a specific task, so that the definition of that task must be hard coded inside this method called run. And inside this run method, you can instantiate new variables, you can instantiate a new object, you can use the other methods which are being defined in this new class, or you can call other classes objects. So you can do practically anything inside this run method. So what we will do is I'll just show you a demo here. So let's initialize a for loop for I equal to 0. I must be less than, say, 10, and I plus plus. So we have just initialized a for loop, and what I will do is I will implement a method which is actually a method that has been defined in the class thread, which has been defined inside the class thread. So you must have now remembered how we can call a method of a particular class. We will use its object. So we have an object with us, nth dot, and as you can see we have numerous methods here. So I will use sleep, this particular sleep is not the actual method. Okay, we'll see that. Let me go back to the nodes and I will show you what I'm trying to do here. So here we are creating a thread, and okay, this is what we have done here. Okay, so as you can see we have also, you can see we have also initiated a method called sleep. So that is what we are trying to do here, and inside the sleep I will provide the time. So I will provide the time equal to 400. Okay, now it is showing me, it is showing me this particular error because this particular method can actually throw an exception. So we have to keep it inside the try block, and after that let me add the catch block here. So okay, so the try catch block is okay, and we'll also try to insert let's say a system dot out print, and inside that we will also dot get name. Okay, inside get name plus is counting plus 5. So what we have done here is every time we will go through this loop, a message will be printed that nth.getName is the name of your new thread. GetName is the again a method that is being defined inside this. Okay, that is being defined inside this thread class, and this particular name, what it will return is the name that you have actually passed on as an argument to your own new thread. Okay, so whatever be the name that you have passed on here will be printed here. So the new name of your thread is counting, and not 1 5 is counting through the loop, and every time it is counting through the loop it is waiting for some time that has been defined by this particular method called sleep, and this particular method called sleep will wait for the time that you have passed on here as an argument. Okay, now this time is actually in millisecond. So every time you will go inside this loop, it will print this message first, and next it will sleep for 400 milliseconds. So it will wait for 400 milliseconds, so it will not do anything. Why I have inserted this particular method here called nth.sleep? Because this particular method will make you able to see what is happening inside the new thread. As you know, the processing speed of your CPUs nowadays are quite large, quite high actually, so you won't be able to see how more than one threads are executing simultaneously, or how the concurrency is actually happening in your Java application. So to make things slow, I have implemented this particular method called nth, that is the object dot sleep. Sleep is the method which has been defined on this particular object, or which has been defined inside the thread class, and I have accessed that particular method using the object of the same class. And every time you will go inside this particular loop, it will sleep for 400 milliseconds. Okay, now this lecture is getting too long, so we'll continue this particular application, this particular example of thread in the next lecture. Thank you.